Hi, I'm Mans.
And I'm Monica.
And this is
Bras Off, Walls Down.
Welcome back to the podcast, guys.
Welcome.
Yeah, we have a very special guest today. We actually have Jo from Noisy Guts. Hi, Jo. How you going?
I'm excited.
We're excited. We've been excited for days, both to meet Jo and because Jo has bought in Show and Tell.
Yeah,
and
we love Show and Tell.
If you've been watching our stories, you would have seen a little sneak peek, but I've been telling everyone about this all week.
Yeah.
Jo, actually, we found Jo. If you watched our episode with Michelle a couple of weeks ago, Michelle was showing us how to make some high protein juices as either a snack or a real meal replacement. And the protein powder we used in those, Monica and I fell in love with. And we said, if Michelle had it to sell us right then and there, we both would have bought it. It was amazing. And I usually go for the vegan one, but I actually really loved the whey one. And it didn't
go for whey, and I liked the vegan one.
It didn't upset my tummy for the first time.
Yeah.
But Jo is Noisy Guts. That is where we found Jo, and she's also going to be at our retreat. So we're so excited and so honoured to have you here.
Awesome. And thank you to Michelle who put all the dots together.
Yeah, she did.
She made this day come true.
She'll be sitting in a little sun-filled office going. But before we get into your story and everything Noisy Guts and gut health, the question we love to ask everyone is, what is your most recent I'm just trying to survive life moment?
I think I have one of those faces that just has cool, calm, collected. You know, a bit like the duck that sits on the pond. Like, I got everything under control. What you don't see is that my life is just chaos underneath. Mainly because I'm trying to run a business. My business partner's away in London, so I'm solo. With the baby. Like, oh my God. I have two girls at home. They are adults, but they're still studying and still getting their careers set up. So I'm managing a very busy household. My mum also lives with me, with us, with advanced vascular dementia, which, makes life so fun. So I can go from, yes, I have a PhD, I'm really organised, I'm just cool, calm and collected, to, oh my God. And this morning, I'm just thinking, there is no way I can get my mum to daycare in half an hour. I'll just skip the whole shower thing. So my mum's probably gone to daycare smelly. You sent her to daycare without a shower. But that's what I did this morning. No judgment. I just
no judgment.
Get it through,
through the process. Nope, skip a couple steps.
I just know that. But on the surface, everything was fine.
Yeah. Hey, you came in very
could never have known.
I tell people I'm in that case of my life is chaos. But, there's only underneath. On the surface, everything's good.
Yeah, no, we would never have known that anything happened this morning. Just easy breezy out the door. Everything done. Yeah.
That's why I say that the chocolate poo tray arrived here without any chocolate missing. Close.
Yeah. If it was in my car, it would not have arrived that way.
No.
Whether it looks like poo or not.
I'm going to eat it.
Oh, amazing. Well, I would love to know a little bit about Jo and your journey to where you are now with Noisy Guts.
So perhaps not a linear circle. You know how you met on linear circle, a linear line. You know how.
Is it weird that I knew what you meant? I'm like, that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I was like, yes, she said the right thing.
But do you know how some people want to be a nurse when they're 5 years old and that's all they do in their life? That wasn't me. I was very mediocre at school, just did not peak. All I wanted to do was avoid attention. So I just worked out how to become a wallflower. Wasn't great academically, but I just did enough to fit in. Really average at school, but once I got to uni, I found that I just loved learning. And I was listening to James Lund this morning, and he was talking about how a lot of people have these two mountains in their life. The first one's about achievement and the second one's about meaning. My first mountain was all about achievement. I was really, once I got to uni, I just loved learning. I did my honours, I did my masters, I did a PhD. It was all about just achieving. And I think sometime after children, just realised that making other people rich and wasn't wasn't very fulfilling. So I started working in healthcare because I could see what I was doing was having an impact on people. So I first started with eyes, regional and remote eye health in Indigenous populations, and just loved it because you could just, people were literally getting their sight back and you could see the impact of what you were doing. And then I worked in organ transplant, which is just a minefield in Australia because we don't, so few people are on the organ donor register. But I loved that because when you see someone have a transplant, it's just amazing, and the change that makes to their life.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And then I met Professor Marshall, who is Australia's favourite Nobel laureate. He and his lab partner won the Nobel Prize for discovering a bacteria that lived in your gut, which is so funny because it really wasn't that long ago. But when he sent his research in to be published, they laughed at him and said, there's no way that anything could live in the gut because it's too acidic. And he still has this rejection letter the original rejection letter, it's framed and it sits on his office wall.
Wow.
Because not only did they say that, this is just ridiculous, nothing could live in the gut, but they ranked his paper, and I think it was in the bottom 3% of all the papers they'd received. That's how bad his research was. But he was insistent that not only was there a bacteria that lived in your gut, but it was the cause of stomach ulcers, not stress. So when I first met Prof, I was really stunned that he was saying he was having a lot of difficulty getting research funding. And I was like, but you're a Nobel laureate. Surely people would just give you money.
Throw money at you. Yeah.
Throw money at you. And I find that really surprising because, how hard could it be when you've got a Nobel laureate on top of your grant application? Like, that would be a dream job. And he said, well, come and work for me then. I thought, okay. I don't know a lot about gastroenterology, not really into infectious diseases, but found myself at UWA as the associate director of his research centre. And he's just a type of brain who would just come up with amazing, silly, stupid ideas every day, sometimes before breakfast. And it was my job then to work out, what do you mean you want to change Medicare policy? Oh, okay, Prof. I'll do that.
Let's make it happen.
He had this idea around anorexia, the anorexic poo project, we called it, where I had to go out and collect poo from anorexics, which is really difficult to do because they don't poo a lot.
Yeah.
And they don't poo often. And so I was at the door kind of like, yes, I would like your poo, thank you. That in the freezer. So, he had a lot of ideas. Many of them were crazy. Many of them were great. Many of them allowed us to change policy. Sometimes it was just to do with, how many colonoscopies could get done in a hospital. So he has ideas and not necessarily linked to gastroenterology. And I think that's part of his funding problem because these days funding is all about, de-risking. And how many papers have you published on anorexia?
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
I had this really good idea.
Yeah.
So he was at this event, the Innovation of the Year dinner, and he was listening to all these people pitch their great ideas. And there was one professor in engineering who had come up with these little microphones, and when you put them in the base of a building, they can detect termites, just these munching noises of termites. And other people would just hear this and kind of like, oh, that's nice. He started drawing on this serviette. And then
the ideas are forming.
Yeah, and then I get the serviette.
Yeah. So you make dreams happen.
Yeah. Just like, oh, this is a nice serviette. What's that mean? But his idea was, from listening to these munching termites, what if our gut noises, what if those grumbling, rumbling gut noises are actually trying to tell us something? Now, at the time, he had just started learning Mandarin. I think Kevin Rudd must have been the Prime Minister, and he was talking, Mandarin in China, and Prof was like, well, I want to be able to do that. So he was really interested in languages.
I love this man already.
He sounds incredible.
And so his view was kind of like, well, what if the gut has its own language?
Yeah.
Why don't we start listening to gut noises? Okay, all right. Well, let's So I was walking around the office, and it was one of those offices where every time someone would walk in, it's like, oh, God, what do they want from me today? Can I have a wee sample? Sure. Can I have a poo sample? Sure. Can I have some blood? Can I listen to your gut noises? Okay. And so I was in an office, I shared an office with this scientist called Mary, and she had a normal, healthy gut, and I had irritable bowel syndrome. So we started listening to both of our guts, thinking, well, I wonder if there's a difference between Mary's gut noises and mine. Why don't we give Jo some McDonald's and find out what would happen if we gave her a big shake? And what if we gave Mary some castor oil? What if we did these horrible
Your poor guts. All in the name of science.
There's nothing dignified about being in this office. Nothing is off the record. It was just like, oh, that's a lovely noise. So everyone got to know my gut noises really well. And it's like, horrible. But that turns out that there was a difference between Mary's gut noises and mine. And so that started, us thinking about, well, what is it about irritable bowel syndrome that makes our guts work differently? Because when you look at a gut under a microscope and you do a colonoscopy, the gut looks fine. Everything structurally looks fine, but it doesn't function fine. So it's a functional gut disorder. And this makes it really difficult to diagnose because we can look at it and go, yeah, it's all fine. All the bits are in the right place. But why isn't it functioning properly? Why do you get explosive diarrhea? Why do you get constipation? Why do you get bloating or distension? Why just doesn't it work like other people's guts? So we thought the borborygmi gut noises might help us discover some answers. In the end, we learnt a lot. But I think the best part about it was that as patients came in for our clinical trials, we learnt so much about their journeys, what brought them here. And for most people, it was, IBS has affected them in such horrendous ways. It's affected their careers. We had this lovely bus driver who was just living on pharmaceuticals, just trying to get from one stop to the next without pooping his pants. And you just think, oh, God, what way to live, So I think that's the thing that I loved about the clinical trials is we met people, we could understand where they were, their journeys with irritable bowel syndrome, and how desperate they were for any sort of help and solution. We didn't get to a diagnostic test, or a cure, which is always the aim when you start clinical trials. We didn't get that far, and I think we've acknowledged that there is no cure for IBS, which is frustrating, so frustrating, especially when you go on TikTok and everyone seems to have a magic.
Everyone's got the cure, yeah.
Everyone's got a cure. But that's where it started. We didn't call the business borborygmi because, I couldn't even spell it when Prof said, we want to study borborygmi. And I'm thinking, yeah, sure we do. Let me just Google. What is it?
Google's still trying to figure out what you're typing.
So we called ourselves Noisy Guts. And we spun out of UWA, and we started making gut health products because we wanted to help people. We wanted to kind of explain the science and let science help people so that they could feel confident. They could look at clinical data and go, that's why it works, But we also recognised that if it doesn't taste good, you just simply won't take it. And one of the things about our gut microbiome is that it's incredibly stubborn, and it takes a very long time to change, and it's really resistant to change. So you have to introduce things and, maybe up to 30 days, a month worth. But who's going to take some every day if it tastes like crap,
Yep.
One
Not
day
me.
you're fine. 2 days you're motivated. By day 3 it's like, I just can't. Can't.
It just goes to the back of the cupboard and you just, slowly start tipping it out.
And it just dies in the back of the pantry. It's tipped down the drain. So we wanted to make products that tasted good but still had this prebiotic fibre, these probiotics that were clinically validated, and just have science at the forefront of everything we do, which is really hard because science isn't very sexy. It's really hard to sell science. I could wear a bikini. Not anyone see me in a bikini, but if it's a 20-year-old wearing a bikini on TikTok, excellent. That sells.
When you were talking about, colonoscopy, because I've had one for all my issues, and they're like, it's clean. We've never seen one so clean. Did you stick to that? I was like, yeah, I read my instructions. I did them to a T. They're like, we can tell. I was like, I'm a nerd. Like, and they're like, oh, we can't find anything wrong. And that's so frustrating because you're like, there is something wrong because that 20-year-old looks amazing. And she had a drink that if I drank, I would definitely, I'd be out here and being uncomfortable for 3 weeks after.
You know, it's a cute little trend for 20-year-old girls to just have gut issues, and apparently that's just cute and normal. That every young girl has gut issues, and it's just like, I just eat and drink this stuff and shit myself and it's fine. So it goes to show as well that, like, these things are happening, but because people don't know what to do with it, now it's a bloody trend to have a gut issue.
It's so overwhelming because, as you say, science isn't sexy. So all the things that are getting traction and ending up on your For You pages are all the things where there's a beautiful girl selling you something that has worked for her. I'm not saying it hasn't worked for her, but scientifically, it could all, I'm trying to put this in a really nice way, just be absolutely fucking rubbish. Yeah. So to come across that is actually scientifically backed, why isn't that fucking sexy? Like, why isn't that everywhere?
Yeah, I think that's how it should be.
Science should sell, right?
It should. It should. It should. And I hope that we're making a difference. I hope we're getting that message out. But I think it's a tough sell.
Yeah.
Because everyone wants an instant fix. Everyone wants
as quick as possible as well.
And we're talking, I think, to quite a vulnerable population because you can understand if you've been for a colonoscopy and the doctor has said everything's fine, there's nothing wrong. You can, you've come out and you feel like you've been completely gaslit by Western medicine because they say everything's fine. It must all be in my head. So then you've got someone feeling like they're going a bit hoo-ha. So when someone tries to sell them, woo-woo, some superfood that's going to magically cure everything, you can understand why someone will go, I'll give it a go. Yeah. And I think I've tried every supplement, every superfood, you name it, I've tried it. So I completely understand how, when it's taking over your life and when it's stopping you from doing the things you want to do, I understand how someone go, just whatever, some new herb from South American forest, sure, just
laid on me.
Yeah. And then get really frustrated and let down when it didn't work. It costs them a lot of money. You're pouring it down the drain. And so then you've got me who comes in and says, try this. Like, I've been there, I've done it, so it makes it hard to sell just because there's so much more shit in the market.
Yeah.
When you first came out with the Noisy Guts products, what was it like getting the reviews and the feedback from people when you actually realized like these are helping and these are changing lives and they're actually products people want to use?
It is the highlight of my week. When you get a little email or so, or yesterday someone called me, I was like, oh, this was so good. I love it. I just love it. It just gives you the warm fuzzies. And there's a lot about running your own business isn't as much fun. I'm still trying to reconcile this in the financial year. And it's not my friend. I'm not an accountant. There can be some parts of running a business that are very operational and just hard physical labour, getting 20 kilo, bags of ingredients into the car and into the office and up and downstairs. It can be a lot. I think, am I really fulfilling my career? Am I making poo? I don't know. So there can be a lot about running a business that isn't fun, but when you get a phone call or an email from someone saying, oh my God, I've been able to travel. That's a big one. So a lot of people with IBS are really reluctant to do those long haul flights. I'm uncomfortable, and we've been having this big discussion on our Facebook group recently about what kind of pants can I wear so that I'm on the plane, and when I get bloated, I need something that's elasticized. It's not going to cut into me, so I'm comfortable. So we have these conversations with people, and you think, oh wow, really made a difference to someone's life. I'm running at the moment. I love running, and a lot of a lot of people with IBS find those long runs really hard. What if I take a gel and it gives me the shits, which, during marathon season happens a lot. So what can I do to get through a race without having an accident? So when you hear stories of people, hey, I did that run, did that marathon, and now I'm signing up for one that's in Sydney, you think, oh, that really made a difference to someone. So it just gives
Incredible. Yeah, that's incredible.
Now, you have bought a big plate of...
I'm so curious to hear.
Yes. Can we talk about...
The poo?
The poo. Oh, I think we should talk about poo more often. So this is your homework for the week.
Yes. I talk about poo all the time, to be honest.
Every time she goes,
knows what kind of poo you're doing. So this is the Bristol Stool Index. Came from a hospital in the UK. And what we're trying to do, or what they were trying to achieve, was to have a standard language so that when your doctor asks, are your poos regular? You go, sure, yeah. Let's just get them.
Yeah.
But what are they actually asking for? So the Bristol Stool Index was a way of standardising how we talk about our poos. It's a simple 1 to 7. And when I go and talk to groups about poop, I always say to people, just mark in your phone, just for a week, what kind of poo you're having from 1 to 7. Don't send me photos.
Don't document it like that.
Don't need that kind of evidence. But it goes from 1 to 7. We start with our little Smarties at one end. They're little. They're quite stone-like. They can, clearly you can see there's a bit of dehydration going on because the gut has really absorbed all the water. These are probably really hard to pass and probably a sign that you're just not getting the fibre and the hydration that you need. If you're having some kind of Maltesers, some of them stuck together, some of them not, still some signs of constipation, some dehydration there, probably need to get some more insoluble and some soluble fibre. 3, 4 and 5, obviously 4 is our ideal poo. It's sausage-like, it's easy to pass, there's not a lot of clean-up, there's no pain when you pass, it's just a good old-fashioned sausage.
And that 4 is like perfect.
4. Either side of that, you might find that, number 3, you have a lot of cracks on the surface of the poo. It's not a bad poo, but it's kind of cracked, it might break up more easily. Or whether it's on the softer side, it still has a bit of form. This one had a bit of form, but then it melted a bit. But it still has some form to it. This is a little bit soft and squidgy. And then we get to our diarrhea, which, really soft, squidgy bits might be a bit bubbly. And then we have our pure liquid, which is just...
I burned a little bit.
Yeah. So 1 to 7.
Chili.
Ultimately, we want lovely 4s. But, I say to people, I gave a presentation in Mandurah. There were about 100 people in the room. And I felt like some people thought, oh, my God, I can't fail. I can't give myself an A, grade for this. I can't fail at this. So I was like, just relax. Just relax. I'm just saying, ultimately, we want to aim for 4.
Yeah.
But, if you have gut issues, you might find that you have 1 of these a day. That can happen when your gut issues are out of control. How many poos a day is normal? Somewhere between 1 and 3. Our guts work at different speeds. The motility, the way in which the speed in which gut, food moves through the gut's really variable. Some people don't poo every day.
That scares me.
That scares me a little bit because if you have a lot of food that sits in your gut for a long time, it starts fermenting. So that's when you might find that you get more gas because you've got food. And we all know how much we eat a day. So if we think about that breakfast, that lunch, that dinner, maybe yesterday's breakfast, lunch, dinner, all of that food sitting inside our gut, fermenting, bubble, trouble, then it's not ideal because you might then have that excessive gas. You might have that distension. So some people can feel bloated, like they've just had Christmas dinner, but actually have no physical signs of that, whereas other people you can see the distension. They're literally, I've just eaten Christmas dinner. I can't move.
Yeah.
So can happen when we've got that excessive fermentation happening in our gut. So having a poo regularly, and if that means every day, then that's a great sign. My guess is that most Australians walk around fairly constipated in the 1, 2, 3 for most of their life and think that's fairly normal. And I say that because the Australian Bureau of Statistics checks and does a dietary check every few years. The last one they did showed that 4% of Aussies are eating 2 fruit and 5 veg a day.
When you said that in your email, I almost fell off my chair.
Yeah.
I was like, that's 4%.
That is insane.
2 fruit, 5 veg a day, 4%. Wow. So when you're not eating that fibre, which comes, and one of the things about our gut microbiome, the little bacteria that live in our gut, is we need to actually feed them. It's like a fishbowl. You need to feed them, or else what's going to happen? They just die. They don't have a food source. What do they eat? They eat fibre. They eat the prebiotic fibre. So going to the chemist and going, I'm just going to get some probiotics, that will solve everything, is just flushing lots of lovely money down the toilet. Unless you're going to eat those probiotics with some prebiotic fibre, because then you're giving them a food source so that they can live, thrive, and change your microbiome.
Yes.
So I think most Aussies, if they're only eating 2 fruit, 5 veg, well, if they're not eating that, if only 4% of them are eating that, I think most Aussies are walking around with little Maltesers or Maltesers stuck together as poop and thinking that that's quite normal when it's really not.
Yeah.
Really not.
What does your poo look like, Amanda?
Oh, I'm definitely up in this end.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'd say more down this end. Not there. I'm not there. But like, end.
Always up in this.
Yeah.
The distension.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Well, some prebiotic fibre and some probiotics can help that. One of the other things we know about our gut is that it really loves diversity. So even for those 4% who are eating the 2 fruit and 5 veg day, I think what tends to happen, particularly as mums, is that when we go to the shops and the farmers market, we tend to choose the same fruit and veg every week because we know it's what the kids will eat. So we tend to eat, the carrots, the lettuce, the broccoli, because we know that that's what they're going to eat.
Even for me, I do the same. I think I stick to the same ones.
So what our gut microbiome loves is diversity. So Tim Spector talks about this goal of having 30 different plant-based foods a week. But one of the ways you could achieve that is just by having different 2 fruit, 5 veg, but having different fruit and veg each week. And if different is not what the kids will do, they eat carrots. You can get different coloured carrots.
Yeah.
Tomatoes, different coloured tomatoes. One week you're having green apples, next week you're having red apples. So there's a lot you can do, even if the kids only eat apples.
Yeah.
That's fine. There's so many different varieties. You have one of each type of apple, but as a way of getting different types of
That's really interesting. Yeah.
for your gut, because that's what it loves.
Yeah. So for anyone that's sort of either struggling or wants to start looking at their gut health or has been sort of had issues, I guess, what would your first piece of advice be to them?
Going to see a GP, at least you can rule out if there's anything seriously wrong. And we know that, sadly, the bowel cancer rates in young people is increasing. Once you're my age, once you turn 50, the government sends you a lovely present every year, a stool kit, so you can go and have your poop tested for signs of early cancer. But going to your GP and just making sure that there's nothing wrong, so always a good place to start. And then having a look at your diet. Are you, in fact, one of the 4% that are eating 2 fruit and 5 veg a day?
It's probably me sometimes in the 96.
Yeah. It's not about being perfect, because there are some days where it's, some days you're never going to get there. Some days we're going to eat far too much chocolate poop. I think that's it.
Yeah. I will never look at Maltesers the same way.
No. I've just killed them for you.
I'll go to the movies on Sunday. I usually get Maltesers.
No, you'd be like, no.
No, thank you.
Well, can I tell you that number 3 is in fact a picnic? What's my picnic bar? So I'm not going to be picnic.
It's not one of those either then.
He's a smartie.
I don't think you could ever put me off Smarties.
Yeah, no, she loves Smarties. We can't say that they are, so it's all good.
Well, they're such different colours.
Yeah.
So I dipped them in chocolate.
Yeah, that's good to hide them. Yeah, you can hide them.
I don't freak out if people saw different coloured poo.
Yeah.
But one of the other things that can happen is that you can be eating a really healthy diet. You've got those apples, you're picking up that broccoli. You can be having 2 fruit and 5 veg a day and still having issues. For many people with IBS, it's because there's just too much fermentation. So there are some fermentable carbohydrates that don't get digested in your stomach. They keep on going into your lower intestine, and they're just much harder to digest for people with IBS, and they ferment. And that's what can cause this excessive gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea. So sometimes that can also be really frustrating because you're like, damn it, I'm doing all the right things. I've eaten my 2 fruit, my 5 veg. I'm not eating sugar. I'm doing all the right stuff. Why do I still feel like crap? Maybe FODMAPs is something to look at. And you can tell them the academic came up with FODMAPs because who would call it the low FODMAP diet? Like, it's such bad marketing. But essentially, these fermentable carbohydrates are found naturally in a lot of different fruit and veg. It might be as easy as just swapping that apple out for kiwi fruit. It could be just swapping, the asparagus out for the tops of you might be swapping them out for carrots. So FODMAPs can be very, very frustrating. But the upside, and certainly for me, is that when I follow a low FODMAP diet, I can manage 90% of my symptoms 90% of the time. Is it perfect? No. Can be really frustrating? Yes. But if I follow a low FODMAP diet for most of the week and I want to go out on Saturday night and eat onion and garlic in Indian restaurant, I can probably manage that and my gut won't revolt too much. So it's about balance, but finding if you're still finding that you're getting symptoms, even if you feel like you're doing everything right, then trying to take on the low FODMAP diet by yourself or go and see a dietitian, someone who can guide you through the stages. One of the things that we're really conscious of is that when you start restricting your diet, it's really easy for some personality types to fall into kind of disordered eating. And the last thing we want is for people to restrict their diet so much that they get scared of I don't want to go near that.
Because FODMAP can be low FODMAP can be quite restrictive.
It can be. It's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
But I think what happens is that when you cut out all FODMAPs from your diet, you can suddenly start to feel really good. And there's this temptation of I'm just going to eat chicken and rice for the rest of the day. I feel really good. And when you start introducing things, particularly if their FODMAPs is sensitive to, you start having all these symptoms I'm never, ever going to go near that again. But if you can get through the challenge process and realise, actually, the only FODMAP that I'm sensitive to is mannitol or sorbitol or whatever it is, then you can kind of go, great, I just have to avoid high servings of mangoes. But actually, if I could just eat a little bit of mango, I'm fine. But I can't eat a whole mango.
Yeah. So if you listen to your body and know what it wants. Yeah.
And if you can identify what those triggers are, what we really want to do is make sure we're eating lots of different things. Because our gut microbiome loves that diversity, so we don't want that over-restriction. And we want to be able to live hippie, happy lives as well. Be able to go out to dinner and travel and run marathons if that's what we choose.
Yeah. I think that is the best explanation I've heard of low FODMAP. Because
100%.
when I was diagnosed with IBS and premature ovarian failure in the same doctor's appointment, and then 2 years later endo and adeno. So, and it's just a big mess, right? So I don't really know. One could be triggering the other. Who knows? I've given up at this point. But the first thing you said was just go Google low FODMAP diet. Just go Google it. So I did the exact same thing. I did the elimination part, felt amazing, started reintroducing things. Didn't feel amazing, gave up on all of it. And then you hear so many stories of people just with such bad experiences as and sort of the longevity of it, like how do I do this long term? That was the best explanation I've ever heard.
So would you recommend being guided through it by somebody?
The clinical data shows us that if you're working with a dietitian, you're more chance of being successful. And we do it. We follow a low FODMAP diet because 75% of people with IBS who follow it get relief from their symptoms. So there's a big uptick if you do it. So we're all motivated because we think, wow, this could really help. And if you do have someone, guiding, so I think a dietitian can help. However, that starts to get expensive as well. So are there ways that you can do it yourself? Absolutely there are. Keeping a food diary and being, just putting on your little science hat and treating it like an experiment.
Yeah.
So being really methodical. I'm going to try some sorbitol. I'm going to do that by eating half an apple. Not going mad, but just half an apple. And I'm just going to record what happens.
Yes.
Now, the thing with FODMAPs is that it takes about 3 hours for the food to reach your lower intestine. So you're not going to get an immediate reaction. If you do, that's not FODMAP. Try something else.
Yeah.
That's not FODMAP. It takes, 2 to 3 hours for it to really get to a place where the fermentation is going to process. So what can often happen is you might try that bit of apple at lunchtime and go, oh, this is my test. But in the meantime, you might snack on something else.
Yeah.
And then go, oh, well, it was definitely the apple. Actually, the apple was fine, but the breakfast you had this morning was just too much.
Yeah.
Or you can FODMAP stack and think, it's just that it was that little bit of apple, but that came on top of the mango, the chocolate, the alcohol, the coffee.
Yeah. There's a whole array of
So
things.
you just stacked everything on and then blamed this poor little bit of apple. If you keep a diary, keep records. Keep a record of what's my poo doing. It's a really good indicator. Am I still at the 1 if I'm doing this, or I moved closer towards the centre? If you keep records of symptoms, I'm feeling really bloated today. Okay, let's see if we can find a pattern. And if you can think like a scientist, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of looking at everything you're eating.
But it's not a quick fix and it works.
It's not a quick fix, which is frustrating. In fact, I've never known, they say it can take 6 weeks, but I've never known anyone to get through the 3 stages of the FODMAP diet in 6 weeks, because you might get through the elimination phase and be symptom-free in 3 weeks. You feel fantastic. But if you do try that garlic, which for me, garlic and onion are my nemesis.
Onion's mine.
I'll try a good garlic bread or some garlic prawns. That's going to put me back to 0. And then I'm going to want to stay there for a couple of weeks and get symptom-free before I start again.
Yeah.
And what we might find is that a tiny bit of apple is fine. Half an apple is good. 3/4 of an apple, bang, I've got symptoms. So it's not just introducing garlic or apple once and thinking, yeah, I'm all clear, I can eat apples, because because FODMAP, it's about the level of FODMAP and how much you're having per gram. It could be that I can have half an apple, but I can't have the whole apple. And you may have to introduce that one thing 2, 3 times at different levels and then go, okay, I've worked out where my limit is for that one fermentable carbohydrate. Now I'm going to go and test another group. That just takes time. Which is so frustrating. However, once you're through I've worked out what my triggers are, that can be really freeing. Because instead of kind of like eliminating everything, it's like, well, I can just make small changes. I can just buy sourdough bread instead of normal bread, thinking, oh, it was gluten. That was my problem. Actually, it wasn't the gluten. It was the fructose. It was these little sugars that were in the bread. Didn't know about that, but I can just swap to a sourdough bread and still enjoy my toast in the morning and I'm not giving anything up.
Yep.
And that's where you want to get to, the point where you can identify what your triggers are, but still have a wholesome, varied diet that you enjoy, because we all love food.
Yeah. It helps people become aware of their bodies as well, especially with clients and stuff that I talk to. No one is willing to just listen to like what their gut is saying and actually hear it and be like, oh, this is how a food makes me feel. That's quite a strange concept for a lot of people that I do talk to. They're like, what do you mean? Like that one little thing I eat, I should like could kind of see what it makes me feel like. They don't think of that. They just eat, and then they're like, oh yeah, I feel like shit.
How do we get to the place? We just don't listen to it.
I know. It tells you everything. I did go through low FODMAP when I was about 15, 16 with a naturopath with my mum. We both did it because my grandma had recommended for me to do it when I got diagnosed with PCOS. And it was amazing. And we did it for about, I'd say we did it for about 6 months and did the whole trial. And we had someone guiding us through it, and we had supplements to heal our gut at the same time and make up for what we weren't eating and all that. And it was absolutely incredible. And I was so young. I had no idea what was happening. I was just kind of soaking in what I could. But it was amazing to actually go through and be guided through it. And then I've done it once more since then, like a phase for, I think, again, another 6 months, because I felt like everything was just off. But it really does help you like get in touch with your body if you do it right. Yeah.
I think the reward is being pain-free and being symptom-free, and that's the reward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And knowing where the balance is. I know that I can't eat a whole loaf of bread anymore, but 1 or 2 pieces is fine.
And we were talking about TikTok and Instagram and everything that you see on there, mass access to mass information these days. What are the things that you see that annoy you the most? The bits of information, the myths, the things you're seeing that you're like, if I could just delete that so no one else could see it.
Anytime someone says that, I have the cure for IBS, that's my trigger. That really just irritates the crap out of me. And so when you produce a food product in Australia, we've got a food standards, and you have to, you're supposed to legally verify your health claims. So you can go onto it's called the FSANS website. You can go onto the food standards website and see if someone's making a health claim, I can cure IBS. They have to then, report and notify FSANS they're making that claim, and here is all of our evidence to say why we're doing that. So I think one of the really good places to start, if you see something on TikTok, just think, I wonder if I could go to FSANS and just check that there's some science behind this.
Wow.
Is this just someone going, oh my God, I can say whatever I want?
Yeah, because everyone does at the moment.
Everyone does at the moment. 9 times out of 10, it's not registered with FSANS. People are just saying what they want because we don't report stuff, or we don't have time to go and check the veracity of someone's claim. So we just think, she looks good. She looks healthy. She looks like she's got a degree in something. Obviously 20,000 reviews. She sold 20,000 tubs of it. It must be good. But I guess with my more clinical brain, I would, and really skeptical now, I would think, I wonder if they've registered those health claims. So I would go and check that first.
That's really interesting. Yeah, it is.
Or I'd start just Googling the ingredient.
I do that. Every single ingredient is that.
I haven't heard of this. What is it? Oh, that's what it is. I don't want that.
Yeah.
So anything that sounds too good to be true almost always is. And that doesn't mean to say that we don't have innovative findings and discoverings every day. We do. But I don't think we find them on TikTok. I think we find them in labs.
No, that's really interesting. I've never heard FODMAP be described and explained like that before.
I think like soaking all in on it.
Yeah, I think I've heard like both sides, obviously what I've learnt and been through. And then I've heard a lot of people really overusing the term low FODMAP, do this, do that, with nothing to back it up. Yeah. And so now I see a lot of people turning into just another diet that you do. And I've had people ask me weight loss, is it for weight loss? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. It's got nothing to do with that at all. So it's really nice to hear it be explained properly.
It was so we make a range of products. They all have a prebiotic fibre, and they all have a probiotic that's specifically designed for IBS. When we first started, we were listening to people's gut noises. And the thing with gut noises is that we wanted to capture the whole cycle. It's called the migrating motor complex of the gut. And so we wanted to listen to gut noises when people were fasted, and then we wanted to give them a standardized meal, and then we wanted to listen what happens after the meal. So we wanted to come up with this standardized meal that we could give to everyone in a clinical trial. So we thought, the best way to do that is with a protein shake, because it's a really standard way in clinical trial to do that. The problem with a lot of protein shakes, as we found out, was that they really affected people's gut noises because they were causing so much bloating, and it was really hard. It was getting harder and harder to get IBS folk to volunteer because they'd go, "Oh, and what's the meal?" It's just like, "Yeah, it's a protein shake," and they'd all go, "Oh, okay."
No, absolutely not.
No, this is going to end well. So that was our first product, because we wanted to come up with a protein shake that wouldn't cause gut health issues. So that's why we started with a protein shake. But we were really concerned that a lot of people use protein shakes as weight loss. We're not into weight loss. As I said, a lot of people who are on the FODMAP diet can tip so easily into disordered eating. We really try to stay away from anything weight related. But it's hard to stay away from weight loss, particularly at the moment, as Ozempic has almost killed the shake market for weight loss. We've seen Imprimai go. We've seen a lot of companies that have protein shake, weight loss shakes just leave the marketplace because Ozempic has the cure for that. And for some people, actually losing weight can, on the surface of it, help their gut issues. And it's not because they're losing weight. It's often just because the quality of their food, they're just not putting in shit. So it's actually not weight related. It's just they're putting in low FODMAP foods, or they're putting in more fruit and veg rather than McDonald's. And that's what's making them feel better. But they think, well, if I lose weight, then I'll magically feel better. Over my many years, I've been at many different weights. I can be at my thinnest and still have IBS and still have issues. When I'm 30 kilos overweight and heavily pregnant, still have IBS.
But that goes to show it's deeper. It's not just about your weight. It's how you feel internally as well, and how your body is talking to and processing everything.
The protein shake was your first product. What came next for Noisy Guts?
Then we found that some people really like having their own breakfast. They love their sourdough, or they have porridge, but they didn't want a filling protein shake. They just wanted the gut health benefits. So then we came out with our gut health boosts. You simply just put them in half a cup of water. Really
so excited.
Yeah,
all the gut health goodies of the fibre and the probiotics, but with no artificial flavours, no stevia, nothing that's going to leave you with an aftertaste. And then over winter, sometimes the boosts, because they're tropical and they're so summery, we thought, it'd be nice if we put the fibre in a hot chocolate, something nice and warm.
Love that. I love the hot chocolate.
Some hot chocolates. Last week, we came out with a new chai. Still has the fibre, still has the probiotics. They're heat stable, so yes, you can cook with them. You can still put boiling water on them. They're fine. So it's going back to that idea that if you have, prebiotic fibre and probiotics once, is that going to magically make you feel better? It's not. Within a few days, you're going to be pooing like a princess, yes. But is your...
I'm sorry. I love that.
Like a princess.
That's
She's going to do this now. She's going to make this work. She wants to poo like a princess.
It takes 30 days. Yeah. So you need to be having this prebiotic fibre and probiotics every day for 30 days to really get some change. So we wanted it to be tasty. So that's where the hot chocolates came in. I love that you can be sitting on the couch at the end of the day with your hot chocolate. Still has a beautiful, deep, dark Valrhona cocoa in there. So it has that gorgeous cocoa taste. But I'm having my fibre, I'm having my probiotics, but it doesn't
like a princess first thing in the morning. That's my favourite time to poo.
Yes, it is. So that's the idea behind all of our products, is making it taste good enough that you will have.
If you get a massive order soon, just know it's the two of us.
And without compromising your taste buds, because no one wants to block their nose. And I did this recently. I did a trial of 4 of the most popular fibre supplements, and I was being videoed, and our videographer said, "We'll just make them up, and then I'll get you, tasting them." It hadn't really been long. It'd been like only 3 or 4 minutes while we were just getting organised. And he said, "Well, go for that one." It was black, and I went to tip it out, and it just kind of came out not. It had just congealed and kind of some sort of marshmallow root, and I don't know what else.
Oh my goodness!
So it was like, I actually don't know. I can hold my nose, but I actually don't know if I could drink this. I want to be able to drink that daily. How miserable would life be? So that's what we were trying to create with our products. We just wanted to make them taste good, so that people are going, okay, I can do that.
Yeah,
I can commit to that every day. Yeah, I could do that. So yeah.
And what's your personal Noisy Guts favorite product? What's the one you will never run out of in your pantry?
Any.
I have a vanilla shake. I have a vanilla protein shake every morning. I like it because there are some mornings. Yesterday I experimented with peanut butter powder and half banana. Some mornings, if I get back from the gym and I feel like if I don't get protein in, I'm going to eat all day. I'm going to be chasing all day. So sometimes I really like to bulk it up and find other things to put in. Other days I just like it plain. But I have a shake every morning, and I have one of our hot chocolates every night. So the 2 of them, I don't know if I could do without either of them, because they're just part of my daily routine.
Yeah.
And ta-da!
Princess!
Thank you so much for going to so much effort.
I know. We're not allowed to eat it now, are we?
It's going to look like this.
We're trying to get to
I just want to see you at the traffic lights with like number 4. Someone just looking at Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for sharing. And for anyone that is coming to our retreat in August, Jo, you're going to be there yourself?
I'm going to be there.
Yeah, Jo is going to be at the retreat. She's going to have the products, so you can ask
Maybe
her.
not the poo chart.
I don't know. You can bring it.
I kind of feel like everyone's going to want the poo
Yeah,
chart.
that's probably a good way, actually. One of you pooing it. This one, take this.
Because we said, and I keep repeating this, the reason the marketplace is so important to us is because when we did that podcast with Michelle, we wanted that protein powder then and there. We wanted to get started. So
I know you will too. So.
Yes. So we're going to have Jo there. She can answer all of your gut health questions, your product questions, and go through the poo chart with you.
Yeah. The poo chart will make a comeback.
Yay! Thank you so much, Jo. It was so nice having you on.
Great. Pleasure.
And we'll see you on the next episode.
See you next time.
Bye. If you loved this episode, don't forget to hit follow or subscribe so you never miss a chat.
And we love seeing where you're listening. Tag us in your stories at Bras Off Walls Down and let us know your favourite takeaway.
Got a question or a topic you want us to cover? Slide into our DMs. We love hearing from you.
See you next time.